very important to do your research. It's very important because what we do now will impact later on down the road.
We are now 5 days from Election Day in the United States, and the window to vote early is closing quickly.
Millions of people in Tennessee and Georgia already took advantage of early voting. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kim Chapman-Whitfield.
And I'm Josh Rowe. Nationwide, more than 59 million Americans already voted, both in person and by mail. Tennessee and Georgia both saw similar turnout, about 40% for people getting to the polls early. In Tennessee, that counts out to almost 2 million people. For Georgia, it's more than 2.7 million. We know the big choice on the ballot is for president, but those Georgia voters have other items they're voting for as well.
Oh, yeah, and ones that could determine how much you pay in property taxes and how small businesses are taxed. News Channel 9's Ja'Kai Spikes spoke to voters who, in some cases, did not even know what the amendments are.
Voters in Georgia have 3 important statewide measures to vote on this election, although some voters may not know how these statewide measures may affect them.
I tried to read over them. I'm not super well versed on it, but I tried to make a good judgment call reading them while I was in there voting.
Jessica Vera agreed on the importance of voter education in order to make a well-informed decision.
It has to pass both the House and Senate by a 2/3 majority and then go to a vote for the public and get a majority support in the public referendum like we're doing on these 3 proposals.
Charles Bullock, a political science professor at the University of Georgia, explained the measures on the Georgia ballot.
The first constitutional amendment deals with homestead exemptions, and it applies statewide.
And as to what the first constitutional amendment includes,
what this does is to cap the rate at which that assessment amount that you're being paying taxes on can increase, and it limits the increases to the increase in the cost of living, to the inflation rate of the previous year.
As for the Second Amendment,
if you are contesting the assessment on your house, the taxes, you would go to a separate court as opposed to having to work through it in some other way. So it would take some of the burden off of the Superior Court.
Charles Bullock says that the third measure deals with the amount that you can essentially write off on your property.
It's an attempt to lower the tax burden, they say, on small businesses.
Bullock has some advice for Georgia voters before they go to the polls.
To think about it before they get to the polls so that they're not having to stand there and try to figure out exactly the wording.
Jamaica Bowling emphasized the importance of voting on the 3 new constitutional amendments, especially on issues like tax increases, which she says is currently contentious in Ringgold, Georgia.
It's very important to do your research. It's very important because what we do now will impact later on down the road.
I'm Ja'Kai Spikes, News Channel 9.